Hi, I'm Dale Powell, and welcome to That Spirit of Christmas. In 1843, Charles Dickens wrote the following words: There are many things from which I might have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say, Christmas among the rest. But I'm sure I've always thought of Christmas time, when it comes round, apart from the veneration due its sacred name and origin, as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable time, the only time I know of in the long calendar of the year when men and women seem to, by one accord, open their otherwise shut up hearts. And though Christmas may never have put a scrap of gold in my pocket, I say it has done me good and will continue to do me good. And I say, God bless Christmas. You know, those words, as you probably recognize, came from Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol. And in that particular scene, Scrooge's nephew is trying to explain to Scrooge that although Christmas may be a time that actually costs him money instead of putting gold in his pocket, that it has done him a lot of good. And that there are situations in this world that may not be profitable, but nonetheless, they may not be profitable materially, but to your spirit, they're very profitable. I don't know when you're watching this, but the day I'm recording it is the day that here in the United States we call Black Friday. Traditionally, Black Friday was called Black Friday because so many businesses ran in the red for the first 3 quarters of the year. And in this final quarter, they finally sometimes get in the black, meaning they're making money on uh, Black Friday because that's a big shopping holiday. And a lot of people put that down. They say that it probably goes against the spirit of Christmas. That's not really what it's all about. Well, is it or isn't it? You know, Supposedly we celebrate Christmas as the birthday of Christ. And as I have studied Christ, I have found that his message was to love one another. So if people are out shopping and doing things, they're generally not doing that for themselves. They're doing it for someone they love. So again, it may not seem like a spiritual experience when you're out shopping and things like that. I know things can get hectic and everything like that, but remember, everybody is probably trying to do the best they possibly can. I realize there's a lot of greed and misery in the world. I understand that. You see it every day. You don't have to look hard to see it. But doesn't Christmas take some of that away? I remember something I heard when I was a kid. It was in the 1970 Rankin Bass special, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And I can remember at the end of that, Fred Astaire, who narrated the story, makes the following statement. Yeah, is there a lot of misery and greed in the world? Sure. But doesn't a child's smile on Christmas morning wipe away some of that sadness and greed? Isn't that really what peace on earth, goodwill to men is all about? Showing love to your fellow characters? Dickens wrote that it is the one time in the year when men seem to open their otherwise shut up hearts. So again, isn't that alone reason enough to celebrate this season of love and light? And yeah, I was glad that Dickens wrote the part in there that I'm not trying to take anything away from the sacred origin of Christmas. No, we are expanding it. We are expanding its message. Its message is love. Nothing else could be greater. That is the spirit of the season, about the crowds and everything of Black Friday and saying people lost the spirit of Christmas. I wrote something. Yeah, I thought I was going to be doing this podcast last year. It didn't happen that way, though. But I hate to have to read this to you, but I don't have it committed to memory. And like I said, I wrote it last year. What I see on Black Friday is love in motion. You see grandparents out in the cold before sunrise because they want their grandkids to have a magical Christmas morning. You see parents who don't have much money scanning the shelves for the one thing their child talked about all year and the one thing that will light their face up. You see tired people, working people, doing something that's not easy, not convenient, not even fun sometimes, but they do it anyway. They do it because of love. Doing something you don't want to do out of love, isn't that what the spirit of the season is really all about? They do it for one reason, because they love somebody. Black Friday gets framed as greed. I think that's wrong. Black Friday is effort. Black Friday is sacrifice. Who wants to get up at that time? Black Friday is ordinary people choosing to give. Have you ever thought about it that way before? It's the same spirit that Scrooge's nephew talked about, that Christmas lifts something in us, even if we can't explain it, that it opens our hearts a little wider, just a little bit, even when our wallets might feel a little tighter. And here's the part of Scrooge's nephew said so beautifully. He wasn't trying to take anything away from the sacred meaning of Christmas. No, not at all. Because at the core of every sacred tradition, every faith, every story is the same simple truth. Love expresses itself through giving. Sometimes that giving is spiritual. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's the ultimate, but giving is done because of love. And sometimes, yes, it's a toy on sale at 5 a.m. in the morning. And let me tell you something. There's nothing unholy about a parent trying to give their child joy. I personally think God would smile at that. I think Dickens understood that. That's why he wrote Scrooge's nephew as the heartbeat of the story, the character who tells Scrooge and all of us what Christmas really is. A time when human beings open their shut up hearts freely, even if only for a few days. Black Friday, for all its noise and crowds, is just another picture of that same opening. Not greed, not avarice, just love and work boots, if you will. And if Scrooge had walked through a Black Friday crowd, a real one, not a news headline, he might have seen the very thing he spent his whole lifetime missing. Because the truth is, most people aren't greedy. I know some of you frowned at me when I said that, but most people aren't greedy. Most people will give. Most people aren't fighting for themselves. They're fighting for the people they love. And Christmas gives them a reason to do it with joy. Yeah, there's many ways to find that spirit of Christmas. There's many reasons to be down right now. I could be down myself if I wanted to, but I choose not to do that. I hope all of you find that wonderful, loving spirit of Christmas this year. Happy Christmas.